Welcome back to BLOCKTV. My name is Zachy and Yonah. This is Yonah Hockhauser. Hello, Yonah.
Hey,
Today we're taking a look at more Google search trends. Taking the word Bitcoin, and we're going to compare it to some interesting things and find out come to some cool conclusions. So let's start here. First thing you want to do, we're looking at the past 7 days worldwide, and this is interest in Bitcoin. This is the trend interest in Bitcoin. It peaked this week on the 22nd, which was, I believe, Friday. So right before the weekend, I suppose. Kind of interesting to know. And as per usual, those Nigerians, they love the Bitcoin. Yes, Yonah?
I have a question. I always see Google Trends, it's out of 100. What does that rank? Does 100 mean just the biggest place and everything else is relative? What's the number?
It's hard to say. I don't know.
You don't know?
Just 100 search points.
100 search, okay.
I'll have to look into that later, but, who can say? Truly, except for Mr. Google. No, it's Nigeria, 100%. If you are in Nigeria,
every person
you are Googling Bitcoin.
By the way, Nigeria's always number one, and always at 100. What's going on in Nigeria?
It's hard. I mean, they love it. It's a great utility for people in Nigeria.
But if you look at the volumes in Nigeria, the actual trading volumes in Nigeria, even relative to wealth, even relative to GDP. And by the way, I'm making this number up. Totally did not do the research. It doesn't match up to the Google Trends.
Seeing as you did just make that up, I'm not sure. It's something to look into for damn certain. But the next best behind it is Austria, and that's only with a mere 44 search points.
I think it's called SPs. They only have 44 SPs.
those SPs. And then you get your related queries. Why is Bitcoin dropping? Who can say?
But by the way, very interesting. Scroll down for a second. So last week when we were looking at the queries, it was all types of things. This week, it's everyone wants to know, why is Bitcoin going down, and the fear and greed index.
Yeah, interesting. So, people are trying to hedge themselves and not get too caught up in the FUD, even though it's falling. Looking at the fear and greed index. So today, anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a look at some relative terms. I thought that's something that was very relevant, at least here at BLOCKTV recently. We've been talking a lot about memes just in general. Okay, now when you look at memes, it follows this search pattern. There's a ridged, I'm going to call it the shark fin pattern, because, why not? We found this last time we were taking a look when we were looking at dogs.
Yeah.
We saw that it goes, it has this kind of bumpy, repeated spike right here on, Friday. And then it dips back down over the weekend. I don't know, people aren't looking up memes on the weekend. Seems like it's just something you look up through your work week.
It's almost like they have lives and they decide to go out with their friends, maybe having fun, drinking, I don't know.
It's easy, well, no, actually, this would be per day.
Yeah, that's a per day.
Yeah, you're right, it's per day. But I guess it spikes at, people are looking at the most memes this week on the 24th, which was yesterday, Sunday.
Sunday is a time for memes. Saturday and Friday are time for partying, and Thursday is a time for family.
Now, the point that I have when I brought up memes, I did a little bit of pre-research. I pre-baked this one, I'm pulling it out of the oven.
Can't tell because it's real raw.
That's very mean. No, so you look, you have the ridges here, and then you have the Bitcoin. It does not follow this kind of ridged pattern, which is kind of interesting because, the first thought you might have is, oh, maybe it's related to the language that you're typing in. So I thought about that, and I said, well, let's take dogs for an example, okay? You'll see that it follows pretty much the exact same pattern as memes, this ridged pattern per day. Now, you might think, oh, well, maybe that's just because folks are searching for it in English, and so this shows that kind of English speakers are searching in that pattern. But if you search the term perros, which is Spanish for dogs, you'll see, even though it's less popular, it does follow a similar pattern. So it's not necessarily the language barrier. Maybe, this is an extensive research or nothing.
Before you take all those away, you guys were doing web searches. Now, I personally never look on the web. I'm curious to see what happens when we look at mobile searches. Oh, they don't.
Yeah, mobile searches on web.
Oh, it's included. It's all inclusive.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's one thing. Another thing that I thought would be kind of interesting to look at this compared to is, of course, everybody's favorite search term, which is pornography.
Do people Google porn? Is that how you find porn?
So here's the thing. I'll tell you exactly who's searching for porn.
Brazilians.
No, Brazilians are actually more interested in Bitcoin as compared to memes and porn than anyone else.
Look at those horny Germans.
If you're searching, if there's a country that searched for these 3 terms, Brazil is #1 in terms of like interest in that. But the Pakistanis, let me tell you.
Wait, isn't that, I believe it's against the Muslim religion to look at porn.
It could be. I am not going to go there at all. India, fucking love their porn compared to Bitcoin. Nobody gives 2 craps when you hold it up against the big...
So cryptocurrencies are actually banned in India, and India actually is very anti-crypto. Very interesting to see them being very pro-pornography.
And that's right.
Although, by the way, I've heard in India pornography is included just looking at unclothed cows.
Gonna let that one hang for a second. Now, this is also something that's kind of interesting. Frozen porn taking off right now. I'm just gonna let you think about that.
I wonder.
So
what
finally,
that is.
Here's the thing. Here's what I was thinking. You know, you see all these ridged patterns, right? That are recurring. You see it in dogs. You see it in memes. You see it in porn. It's funny that this is midnight in America, the highest spike in porn search interest, obviously. But why don't you see something like that in Bitcoin? Now, could it be because it's just something that's not that popular yet? It could be. But something that I thought was interesting is, I searched a few other terms, and the only other thing that I could find that kind of follows a similar pattern of this, just kind of staggered bumpies, is protest. So when you look at protest, it's something that's going on all over the place right now. You can look down and see related inquiries. There's a Harvard protest lately, yada yada. Of course, the #1 protest, if you look at top here, it's obviously the Hong Kong protest and situations like that. So I thought that was kind of like an interesting parallel. You take a look at protests right now, which are a global phenomenon. They happen in Chile and Venezuela and Iran and in Hong Kong. And then you take a look at Bitcoin, kind of similar movements. And also, one could say, worldwide phenomenon. Also worth noting is that protests have been below Bitcoin exclusively this week.
Interesting. Do you think maybe it's because they're both two, revolutionary aspects, to maybe things that might disrupt the industry?
That's right. They buck the status quo.
Pushing for decentralization?
They are pushing for that decentralization. And, as you can see, the numbers don't lie. All the search points here, they're painting us an image. And I'm the Da Vinci Code guy. I'm Tom Hanks, and I'm figuring it all out.
Can we look up Tom Hanks, by the way? I'm curious to know what Tom Hanks is up to, especially
Hanks.
in relation to Bitcoin.
Unpopular.
But you see, Tom Hanks kind of follows a pretty
He's got the ridges,
even
dude.
He's got a little ridge.
He's got the shark ridges,
And you're
man.
saying he's full on ridge.
He's full on ridge. So,
But by the way, if you do notice, he actually seems to have a direct correlating relationship with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You see that when he goes down, Bitcoin goes down. He goes up, Bitcoin goes up. I think there might even be something here for some traders out there.
You know what?
A little tip. Maybe tie in your
counter to what you're saying is actually when search trend interest in Bitcoin, let's get rid of protest for a second, goes down, that is when Tom Hanks spikes. So like here, it's starting to go down, and then there's a little bit of Tom Hanksage right there.
Well, obviously there's
a big dip right here. Tom Hanks goes up. So maybe it could be that the people who are searching for Bitcoin are also the people who are searching for Tom Hanks. So when they switch off of Bitcoin, they go directly to Tom Hanks. Who can say? Anyways, that has been. One thing we got to answer the question in the Stripe. Let's go back to porn just for a second here because I thought this was kind of funny. Who loves Bitcoin more than porn? If you take a look at the analytics, nobody. Brazil is the closest, and they're searching 24% Bitcoin, 76% porn. So stay classy out there, folks. And until next time, we're sitting here looking at these numbers and trying to figure out what makes sense of them. So, I'll be here. Yonah will be here right beside me, and we're BLOCKTV. Thanks for tuning in.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.